Greetings, my name is Christopher McClung, and this is my presentation for Global Digital Engagement 420 at California Baptist University, taught by Professor Hamilton Stilwell, and this is being recorded on December 16th, 2015. So for this critical assignment project, we were tasked with choosing a country and discussing the history and their communication and their impact on the world as a whole. And so I chose to choose the country of Lithuania, which is near the Baltic Sea and is bordered by Russia, Poland, Sweden, Denmark, a couple other places, and that is the flag for the country of Lithuania, and it's formally known as the Republic of Lithuania. So the reason why I'm choosing this country is because I was privileged to go there in 2007. I was asked to lead worship for a missionary conference that was for a week long in Lithuania, and it combined a bunch of missionaries from that region, which again included Sweden and Poland and Germany and all those areas. And beautiful place. That middle picture there is an actual, all these are Lithuanian pictures. The two on the ends are of myself, with my brother and friends who went with us, and then the middle is actual Lithuania and Vilnius, and it's just a beautiful country and beautiful place to travel to. So, and I'm going to kind of go back for some of my notes over here. So moving on, Lithuania originated out of what is known as the Baltic tribes, which they estimate came to be after the last glacial period around the 10th millennium BC. So it's kind of hard to imagine, but when I was over there, Lithuania has been around for such a long time, far older than America, far older than the United States. And it was really interesting to wrap your head around that we as a country do not have anything that is as old as Lithuania is. Even just some of their buildings are older than America is itself. And it's very interesting. So additionally, the first mention of the country of Lithuania is found in a German manuscript back in medieval times that was called the Annals of Quedlinburg. Additionally, so that's kind of the basis of how the country got started. But in 1940 was the biggest change in Lithuania, which was they were occupied by the Soviet Union first, and then later during World War II they were occupied by Nazi Germany. At the end of the World War II, there was a treaty that was signed between Russia and Germany. And essentially, they took a bunch of countries and they, divvied them up as to who belonged to what, almost, as if they were playing a game of risk and deciding who gets to get what. And in that, the Soviet Union was given the country of Lithuania. Some statistics regarding Lithuania. It was established as a country in the year 1230. Again, we don't have, America is nowhere close to being this old, but it became a country in the year 1230. Vilnius, which is the city I got to stay in, is the capital of Lithuania, and that was a city that was founded in 1323. The estimated population as of this recording is 2.9 million, and the official language of Lithuania is Lithuanian or Latvia. And the current president is the picture of which is seen there. Her name is pronounced Dalia Grybauskaitė. I'm going to mess this up. Grybauskaitė. I don't know, Google it. But that's her there. So that's their president. So here's some communication in Lithuania. First of all, there's what we would consider traditional media, media that has been around for a very long time. And this is some of Lithuania's traditional media, which is similar to media, traditional media throughout the world. First is print, magazines, newspapers, and this is even now their largest, way of receiving communication, of getting news, of getting, the current ongoings that are both going on globally, nationally, locally. And 95% of the population reads these publications at least once a month. In addition to that, there are 49 radio stations that broadcast in Lithuania, and 66% of the population watch television. I remember watching television there. I didn't understand any of it. I felt like there was only 5 channels, which is totally different now. I was there several years ago. But 66% of the population then watched television. New media is including digital media, which is the internet, stuff they find online. 75% of Lithuanian, that takes up 75% of Lithuanian internet traffic. Let me just kind of bring all these up here. And that includes like their social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. 75% of Lithuanian internet traffic is digital media, social media, all that kind of stuff. Online, 22.6% of the population uses the internet, has the internet. I remember, and again, this is way back in 2007, the hotel we stayed in, I was impressed that they had like a hub in their lobby. They had an internet hub where you could go and sit down and connect to the wirelessly, and at that time that was something new that I had not experienced before. But they're a fairly technological state, and I remember having those kinds of things in their country. So getting on to some current events, and I looked for current events. There are some current events going on in Lithuania, like they're getting refugees in what's called the European Union Placement Plan, which is they're taking refugees and moving them around to safer places. But for me, the biggest current event that I kept coming back to over and over again was going back to this Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Again, this was the pact that Germany and Russia made back in 1940, which said Lithuania was going to belong to Russia through this pact, and that that's the flag that they were given back at that time. But in 1990, which is just 25 years ago, I'll just say it's younger than I am. In 1990, they went through a freedom fight to reestablish their independence and be their own country separate from the Soviet Union. And this was a big thing. This was a big thing globally. This was a big thing, obviously, for their nation. This was a big thing for the Soviet Union. They were a small country, and they were fighting to be independent, fighting to be their own country. And it's something, they had been under Soviet control for 50 years, and then now they wanted to be independent. I guess you would equate it to us as Californians wanting to suddenly be our own independent nation apart from the United States. This is what they wanted to do, and it was a big deal globally as well. And again, that started on March 11th, 1990. And it was called the Act of Reestablishment of the State of Lithuania. And there's what the treaty looks like that the officials there signed. So some of the global news coverage of the Lithuanian freedom fight is and this was all over the globe. In Canada, there were headlines that said, Gorbachev hands Lithuanians an ultimatum to drop them wanting to be independent. That was a big thing. They wanted to be independent. Gorbachev and Russia didn't want to let them go. That was in the headlines a lot at that time. Later on, England, The Guardian, which is a newspaper in England, was posting stories about how Lithuanians were defying Moscow, and they were rebelling against them, and again fighting for their own freedom. And then additionally at that time, the Ukrainians were pledging to join their fight, to fight with them. And then even a year later, in 91, 92, somewhere around there, when we had President Bush, he eventually stepped in and wanted to have the two make peace, have peace talks about doing this. And eventually Moscow went through a period where they were attacking them. So if you Google the January events, that includes that. But they were doing things like having a blockade, and Lithuania couldn't get access to like oil and electricity and all that kind of stuff. And they were going on, and this is in my paper, they were going on through having to fight through not having electricity, not having warm water, and it's very cold over there. I remember that very well. And so President Bush stepped in and basically gave them an ultimatum that, if Moscow doesn't back off, and this was after the treaty was already signed and, they were being recognized with their own independence, we as a country stepped in and said, we will side for Lithuania. We will defend them with any means necessary if Moscow didn't back off, on essentially their bullying of the country. So those are some of the current events, of the Lithuanian and the freedom fight. That was the biggest thing that kind of come out of that country. Some of the, let's see, let me get my thing to play here. Go back up. Okay, some of this world's supposed to spin around. There it goes. Okay, Lithuania, since they became an independent nation, they have joined the European Union. They are recognized as their own independent country with the European Union. And additionally, I should state that they were the first to leave out of that Soviet Union pact, and after that, several countries began to follow them and get their own independence. They joined the United Nations. They joined what is called the NB8, which is the Nordic and Baltic. The Nordic and Baltic States Union. So again, the NB8, that's a partnership with 8 different countries, and basically they work together for the good of all 8 countries. And they work together when they address the European Union and United Nations. They want to make sure they're all on the same page. So concluding this, I don't want to go too much longer since we're at 11 minutes. These are just some of my own personal statements regarding Lithuania. And I didn't see any turtles there, just happened to like that video. So here's my thoughts on Lithuanian communication, and I'm just going to read this through. I feel that Lithuania is a great country. I really enjoyed it when I was there. Not only would I be interested in visiting there again, I would definitely be interested in serving there again, doing another mission trip, and if God even called me, I would even live there. I mean, it's a cold but beautiful place. Really enjoyed it. And what I like about the country is it's not well known. Some of you, even in viewing this, may have not even heard of it, or you've heard of it but don't know much about it. It is not a well-known country. It is not in the media a lot because it's mostly a peaceable state that does not get into a whole lot of drama, a whole lot of conflict. And kind of see there, we read and see and hear a lot about Middle Eastern states and Middle Eastern countries and, the conflicts that happen there, even in some stuff in Europe. And I feel like Lithuania is just kind of like that quiet, small country that, again, it's kind of like the Smallville, the small home, and some stuff does go on, but overall, they're fairly discreet, fairly quiet, but yet they're still a viable nation. They still work hard, and they've fought, to get to where they are today. So my concluding thoughts, and this one I want to make sure I read. Okay. This is my last presentation ever at CBU. This was the last paper I have to write ever at CBU. And so I wanted to conclude it by saying this. In conclusion of this class, and with this being my final paper, my final presentation written at Cal Baptist, I'm glad to end my journey for my bachelor's degree with the thoughts on global affairs. I am glad to have concluded my educational endeavor dwelling on a foreign country where I was privileged to serve in ministry, and by the grace of God, I hope to be given an opportunity to serve there or overseas again. Although I am overly proud to have reached my goal of education, I can sincerely admit that I've done so with God's leading and in thinking through what truly matters in this world. I am glad to have concluded this final assignment in pondering what affairs occur across the seas, and I have hopes and eagerness to see how God will use me and my newfound education to live out my purpose for Him. So thank you for watching this extravagantly long presentation. Pray that you would have a blessed day and a blessed year. Thank you.